Hey there, you're listening to The Mighty Mommy with some quick and dirty tips for practical parenting. Last week, I talked about children attending school for the first time and how to prepare for the first day of the year. Now that the school year has begun for many of us, I'd like to share a few more tips and ideas that have been shared with me. My sources are other moms and, of course, the teachers who are teaching our children. Many of these tips may seem so simple that you'd think common sense would already dictate them, but hey, this is a show about practical parenting after all. We aren't doing anything fancy here, just parenting our kids in the best way we know how. First, I'd like to address the daily traveling to and from school. Young children need supervision all the way to the bus stop or the school. If you're asking yourself if your child is too young to walk by herself, she most likely is. I've actually heard that people are complaining about the health of our children declining because we don't let them walk to school. Granted, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but what's more important to you? Is it more important that your child get the exercise during her walk to and from school, or is it more important that she arrives safely to school and then back home afterward? Given those two options, I'll take safety. If you're worried that your child isn't getting enough exercise, engage her in some physical activity after school and on the weekends. You need to decide whether or not your child is mature enough to be on her own, and you'll also need to take into consideration the neighborhood she'll be walking through, the weather, and the distance. Most children are not ready to walk alone until they are about 10 years old, and even then, I highly recommend that they walk with a buddy. Anytime children are walking unsupervised, especially alone and unsupervised, they're at risk. Once you do permit your child to walk to school, whether with friends or an older sibling, make sure they know their phone number, address, and the correct way to react to stranger danger, such as yelling and running. Unless you feel your child has these skills, I highly recommend that she be accompanied to and from school. I remember being a kid and going shopping at the beginning of every school year for a brand new wardrobe. Thinking back, I guess that was pretty cool. Now that my children are going to school, I wonder if I'll be taking my kids on the same shopping trip. Depending on your child's age and desire for the latest fashions, you could be looking at some high-priced threads. If your kids are still young enough, you'll be able to do your shopping at the end of the season sales if you haven't already done so. If that's the case, you'll only have to buy a couple things here and there to fill in the gaps. If you are going to head out shopping for clothes, I recommend that you check the school's dress code prior to your trip. Your daughter may love that cute little tank top, but many schools have rules against shoulder straps being less than 1.5 inches, or shirts that show off midriff. Knowing in advance will help you and your child make better decisions about what items to buy. You'll probably also be purchasing school supplies. Whether you're donating to the classroom or setting your child up with his own desk set, one suggestion I've heard repeatedly from teachers is to purchase brand name products if possible. Watch for sales and buy the brands you know are good quality. All brands are not created equal when it comes to markers, crayons, and pens. The teachers say that in this case, you often get what you pay for. While the brand name items will last through the entire year, some of the generic or lesser-known brands often run out of ink or simply do not perform as well as the brand names. I have to admit that I've purchased various brands of crayons and markers to make my own personal comparison, and I have to agree with teachers. We all want to save money, but if the product doesn't last, then in the long run, you might actually be spending more than you would have. It's definitely something to consider before you run out to your local dollar store. Prior to school starting, you probably received a notice to go to a Meet the Teacher night or something similar. Hopefully you were able to attend. At first, I was surprised how few parents actually attended, but mine was during the day and most likely parents were at work. Many parents also work at night. If you cannot attend your Meet the Teacher activity, I recommend getting in touch with the teacher to set up a meeting at your convenience. I think it's important that you know who's caring for and teaching your children. Granted, meeting the teacher one time is only going to give you a quick first impression, but you can still be sure to use this time to ask any questions you may have. When and if you have the opportunity to be involved with your child's classroom activities, volunteer. Many parents never get a chance to volunteer because both parents work, but if you get the chance, it can be very rewarding. And if your kid isn't embarrassed about you being around, she might actually enjoy having you there. Finally, one last tip about getting involved. Be involved in what your child is doing in school. Ask every day, or as often as possible. How was school today? What kinds of things did you learn about? Offering to review your child's homework will allow you to see what your child is learning and if she understands the material. You can offer assistance as needed, and you'll be better informed as to how your child is handling her subject matter. Besides, once you start flipping through your kids' new textbooks, you might be surprised at how much you start learning all over again. If you'd like to request a topic for the Mighty Mommy, you can email me directly at mommy@quickanddirtytips.com or leave a message by calling 206-202-2185. This is your friend, the Mighty Mommy, wishing you happy and fun parenting.